So today what we're going to do is that we are going to go over the I've got a project I've got a I think what will end up being our last quote unquote quiz. Actually they're not it's not really going to be actually I'll do another one for Pygame. But what we're going to do is that we are going to you'll want to go to chapter 11, right? And I want you to work on and we're going to work on this project over here to download all XKCD comics. So this is the reason this is a quiz and not an assignment is because it does tell you exactly how to do it so long as you can follow the directions, right? But this is a project that basically loads the XKCD homepage and then saves all the comics from XKCD. So so this is a great way to use the whole idea that we've been using. First, I want to just go over the project that I've got over here that I worked on already. That was for creating a project that does the whole "I'm feeling lucky" by Google. Sorry, basically it's the whole whenever you're Googling something, right? A lot of times you'll put in that search term and then you're going to just open up a bunch of tabs to figure out which one is relevant. Like if I wanted to figure out how to install Linux onto a USB drive, not as a live USB, mind you, but actually like using my USB drive as an external hard drive, right? And booting my Linux project from that. That's something that's not necessarily easy to Google, so I want to or search for. So I want to open up a whole bunch of tabs all at once, and then, so this will be basically a single script that does that. All right, and I tried to work on Selenium, but I kept getting an error, and I didn't bother trying to fix it or anything, and it says that I have to modify my path, and I didn't want to mess with that. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to work on, so it's a very short script. So basically the idea is that I'll have a command line script that from which I can import so a command line script, and what it's going to do is that when I run it, it's going to open up all of a whole bunch of tabs for a particular search result, right? So I'll get so basically it will work like this. Like if I go to so if I go to CD Classroom, CD ITP clear Python Python lucky test hello world, right? It opened up the first 5 links it found on hello world, okay, which is a Wikipedia article, this page, which I guess is it's lyrics, I'm gonna guess, a listing and two music albums, right? So it just opened up a whole bunch of stuff. So how does this program work? All right, so I can what I'm going to do is that basically I basically just all I did was type in what I wanted to search and it opened up a bunch of tabs. So, which is essentially all that web browser does. So, so there were a couple interesting things going on here. The first is that basically I created what we call this query, right? Which was just simply joining all the arguments together with the space, right? Because my system's arguments, all the hello world got put into hello, comma, world inside of a list, right? Right, so then next thing I do was I just printed out that I'm simply searching the web for that. Then the next thing I did was I literally used Google to search for that. And Google search works like this. It's www.google.com/search !Q equals, and if you put the Q, whatever you put after the Q, like, is this a meme, right? It will come up at, that's what's going to come up. Whatever you put after that query is what's going to pop up in the search engine. Okay. So the let's see. So this res raise for status, if you remember, what does that do? That simply says, hey, if I got a 404 not found error, crash. And then what Beautiful Soup does is that it turns that HTML file. It turns, so res gives me the text, the HTML web page. This LXML, that's just simply, that's what the interpreter tells me I want to put in to suppress an error or to suppress a warning. So putting this in, this gets the HTML page, and it says, hey, can you turn this HTML page into soup? Okay. So this r.a, so this is looking for anything with an anchor tag that's like a link, right? And the .r here, if we look at our view page source, .ra, sorry, .r, let's see, there is supposedly, so according to, let's see, so href, so according to the, to my web, to the book, this is what's used to designate a search result, a link that you would get from a search result, the .ra. Mm-hmm. So this gives us a list of a whole bunch of links. Now there's a bunch on the page, but I don't want to open them all. I'm just going to go with the first 5. So for the first 5 links, open http google.com, and then href, because here's what happens. Rather than here's what actually the link looks like. Print link, right? And I'm gonna run, when I run this, I have it set up. So if you're in an IDE, you can actually set it up like by editing your configuration. So here I'm gonna edit the configuration of Lucky Test, or let's see, edit configuration of Lucky Test. And what I can do is I can set up over here what command line parameters I want to put in. So here I put in the command line parameters for man bites dog, which is, classic news story there. So here's what I got back. It gave me back a link to a film, IMDb, GeoCities link, a YouTube link, and Rotten Tomatoes link for a movie, right? Because it assumes I want that movie. Okay. So if I print out the .get href from it to get the link, it just gives me /URL equals query. But by appending this to google.com, this tells Google that this was the search link that I clicked on, please load it, essentially. At least that's what I'm guessing, because essentially adding this to there opens up the web pages. So here, if I do this up, boom, and I've opened up 5 links now. So now let's go over, so this is a project that I have given out, so now let's go over to the XKCD downloader. I've given this in Java as basically the last kind of assignment that I give out in Java. That's not going to be the last assignment this semester, but in for the past 4 semesters, this has been the last assignment in my 1068 course. Which is basically that XKCD is a webcomic. It's a wonderful webcomic, and if you are not familiar with it, well, hopefully now you are, because it is rather wonderful. It's a bunch of computer science, math jokes, and they... and they have a lot of basically just comics on stuff. Now, what I like using this as is that this is that XKCD is very well organized for scraping, right? It's a bit easier to do than other web pages, okay? Because of the way the URLs work, right? Other comics like SMBC they'll put their URLs as dates or as keywords, which makes it hard to go from one URL to another, right? URL being a uniform resource locator, right? So if I go to xkcd.com/comic1, it'll get me the first comic, right? And then if I go to 2, it will get me the next comic. If I go to 3, it will get me the next comic after that, and so on and so forth, right? So it's very easy to just, if I wanted to iterate through all of them, I could. Although the way your program is set up is that it looks for what the next button has and then loads that URL. Because there are some tricks here just to keep you from iterating through it. Like 404 gives you, comic 404 is set up to give you a 404 not found error. So going from, if you're on comic 403 and then go to comic 405, is how it brings you to comic 405, right? So anyway, the HTML, but the page for this is fairly simple. It's got a list of stuff right over here, a list of links to his What If website, where he does some sciencey questions, his blog, his storefront, and his About page, right? And then the archive for a list of all the comics. It's a fairly straightforward web page. So if we view the page source, it is actually fairly straightforward as well. Or rather, it's pretty straightforward from one page to another. Like if I go to 407, the page doesn't change that much. It's the same link. So the web page, so it's all, the HTML is fairly straightforward, right? So it's got the HTML, it's got his style sheet, it's got links. So right here's his list of for the links to his other web page. And then it's got a reference to every comic has, you know, the image in there. Basically, it's got all these things and then it's got the image. So our assignment today is that I want to download all the image files that are on XKCD, all the comics, and save them locally to my computer. Okay? So how do I do that? Well, when you have an HTML web page, right? The link, the image file isn't actually like embedded into the page. I mean, until it's rendered. What it is that, right? You don't see any actual like picture here or a bunch of binary data here. Instead, you've got a link that it loads up when you're rendering the page. And so by clicking on that link, I can get to the comic, right? So by clicking on, so by getting to the link, I can get to that comic pretty well. Or view image, right? It's located at images.xkcd.com/comic/journal3.png. So they're not, the comics themselves are not labeled 1.png or 2.png or something like that. So here's what we want to do. We want to start at the first comic. So xkcd.comics, we're going to go to 1, right? And then we are going to search through the HTML for this link over here, right? We're going to search through the HTML for this link to the page. Typically what I've done is that I've parsed through the HTML file. So there's 2 ways to do this. The first is that you can use the soup, right? The beautiful soup to do this. And just look for the image link and just simply simply grab it like that. What I've done in the Java class is I've told students to iterate through the HTML file, look for the line that says image URL for hot linking embedding, and then it's got a link to the file over there. That's what I've done in the past. But you've got also a beautiful soup which will allow you to just parse it. Okay? Then you go to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So the program tells you to, so the project over here goes over like how you step by step how to do that. So I want you to turn that in for your quiz grade today. So for as you're quiz / in-class work grade for the day. So go through these, go through the steps to build a program. It starts at XKCD, by the way, and it goes backwards typically. And that's the way it works. It goes backwards. The one I wrote goes forward instead. So, all right. So I'll let you guys go ahead and get started. I'm going to put it up on Canvas.